Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I am Joseph, the author of The Industry. Now, I know I said I was going to be making regular updates, but as you may know, there is a lot going on in the world right now. So, first off, I just want to say that my heart goes out to all of those right now who are suffering and that are affected by this pandemic, whether it be illness, job loss, or any other ailment that's going on, as well as the people who are suffering from social injustices in the world. I pray for you. I think about you. My heart is extremely heavy right now, and all I have to say about the whole issue is just register to vote. Keep fighting and keep doing what we're doing. There's going to be change eventually. I know it's going to happen. I've seen a lot happen in my life, and it's been very slow progress, but progress nonetheless. So, the industry will be coming out in about a week. I'm going to be looking over one final proof right now, and I just have to say I'm so hyped up. I am so psyched for this thing to come out. I cannot wait for the people out there to get their hands on it. It's, so far, the reviews, the feedback has been pretty positive. It's been a work 5 years in the progress, and I am just so excited that this thing is done with. And I cannot wait to start working on other projects. So last week, we kind of went over the general writing process in which I go over. And today I want to talk about character and plot development. So for me, these are things that you should never overlook. Anything in the writing process you really shouldn't overlook. But as far as plot development goes, this can stem as something incredibly simple. I always start with two things: the beginning and the ending. You want to go from point A to point B, right? Easier said than done. So whenever you're starting a story, you don't want to start at the very, very, very beginning. Like, in the beginning, and there was light. John was born. He had a mother. He had a father. But he didn't have a father because the father was dead. And he grew up here. And, these things do not need to be established at the beginning of your story. You want to start the character in the middle of his life. So think about a good starting point. So, like, I meet a coworker, right? That's the beginning of their story for me. I meet a brand new friend. That's the beginning of their story for me. Everything prior to this moment, I know nothing about. When you meet someone new in the world, you're not meeting them at the beginning of their story. You're meeting them smack in the middle. Their perspective is one way, and your perspective is another. When you two cross paths, you evolve together. And if it's a friend, or if it's a coworker, a boss manager, or any kind of person with any kind of personal relationship, their story is going to slowly and organically come out. And that's how you have to look at your characters. That's how you have to look at your plot. This is what happens between time frame A to time frame B. Of course, that's a very vague statement. It can last for hundreds and hundreds of years, or it can be 10 minutes. The plot doesn't even have to be very intricate or complex. It can be something simple, a little like, short. Think about short stories, for example. A very basic example of this would be a baby trying to get a cookie out of a cookie jar, and the baby, can't walk, and he's obviously very tiny unless he is from another planet or world. But assuming that this baby is a human baby and not a cat baby or a cat-faced Kryptonian baby, he's obviously going to struggle getting those cookies out of that cookie jar. And you have to think about it in that perspective. Now, who is the baby? What's his name? Well, who's his mom? Who's his dad? What kind of house is he? Like, that doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. All of those details are irrelevant. So when you're thinking about developing and starting your character and starting your story, those details will come. As you get to know the character throughout the story, you're going to unwrap those layers. You're going to sprinkle them in, albeit in flashbacks or in just tiny little mannerisms throughout. Say you have a main character who is struggling to drive. Well, why can't they drive? We don't want to talk about it. And then obviously later in the story, you can tell, well, I remember this one time I was in a horrible car accident, and it really badly injured my ability to blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? That's where you go from there. You want to start by saying, hey, here's a character. Here's what he does. Here's a defining characteristic trait about them. Are they angry? Are they sad? Are they happy? And then from there, you build on. Plot development for me is the same thing. You want to set up an end goal, an end game. What is this character wanting to achieve? And then, of course, you figure out ways how to get there. Now, the beautiful thing about drafting is that you can go anywhere. Your mind is the limit. I don't think there's any wrong way to do it. How is that baby going to get that cookie, man? You know what I mean? Is he going to push a chair over? Is he going to use a cat to climb the counters? Is he going to use the vacuum cleaner? Is he going to jump on dad? It doesn't matter. All we know is that the establishing scene is a child looking at a cookie jar. That's kind of the way I look at, story development and plot development. I get inspirations from my characters with just people that I meet. Anyone has their story to tell, and I think that's something that people tend to forget about in everyday life. Not to get on too much of a rant over here, but it's like if you were to stop and understand where the person sitting across from you or the person standing across the room is coming from, you might gain a little bit of understanding into their world perspective and what motivates them as a human being. And when you look at things like that, then you can actually start to develop your own characters in your own head and within your own story. I use people all the time to motivate, to inspire what I create and what I write down in the book. With the industry, it's actually broken down into 16 different chapters or sections, and each section focuses on one character, and they are inspired by one or two people that I've come across in my entire life. I'm not saying that they're directly word for word, verbatim, their life is on my paper. That's not true, because I probably would be sued and, I might piss off a lot of people. I'm just saying that, I use their voice to kind of inspire where I can take a character, whether it be their highest high or their darkest low. And that's my starting point. And then, of course, ultimately, you as a writer, you as a creator has the power to do what you want with them.